James from Kobalt 27. I have the lead singer. Nobody else in the band matters. All the public knows is the lead singer. So now it's official.
Yeah, it is official. And you know what? The last time John and Matt came
They were
on,
great.
they were great. But they didn't say my name for the whole interview. It's like, what's the whole point of this new group? And these two guys are sitting there like, yeah.
You know, it is hard for people, even though, so we tape this. You guys all know we tape it.
Yeah.
But it is hard for people to be in front of a camera.
It is.
They even though nobody's watching at the time we record, it's hard. And I can tell the
on and they're like,
exactly. So they did a good job, and they're not the front people. We're gonna have to school them. They have to take lead singer training.
They do. They kind of need a little. Yeah, they need to work on their rock squats and sort of the poses and
We'll make them do it. We'll bring them in and walk them through it.
Crack
Maybe we can film the class.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So correct me if I'm wrong. You're the newest member of the band, even though you're not really new. Because how long's it been?
I think we've been playing out live now for 14 months, give or take, so it's still relatively new. I mean, when you compare us to some of the other acts that have been out there.
Oh, forget it. Skin Deep with 34 years.
Yeah, no, we are definitely the new kids in many ways.
But you're getting more and more popular. I keep, when I do the band crawl every week, I see who's playing.
Yeah.
And I get tons of messages of like, oh, I saw this band and they were great and you should cover them. And I saw that band and I hear nothing but good stuff. And if you keep coming up, then obviously you're doing something right.
Yeah, and I think honestly the best thing I've heard from our last show, which was at Post Time back in February, Deanna, the manager there, was like, I have never seen so many different people in here this whole weekend. And for us, that was like, well, that sounds good, because we were looking like there was a crowd of like 20-somethings. Maybe they were 21. I don't know. Who knows? And then you had like everyone, like 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and on up. It was kind of wild. So I think the genre we're going for, which is sort of 90s, 2000, sort of harder rock, grunge type of stuff, is pretty popular. Even though it's kind of classic now, it's 30 years since the 90s.
Don't make me feel older than I am.
Yeah, tell me about it, dude.
But you have a pretty wide berth. I mean, again, just talking about the 20-somethings and the maybe 50, 60-somethings.
Yeah.
Even though you're doing the 90s stuff, give me I know the heavier end is probably what? What do you think your heavier end is?
Shinedown-ish, that kind of.
Do you do Rage or any of that? Or
we do Rage.
That's what I thought.
Yes,
I was going to jump in on Rage.
We do Rage.
Which one?
We've been learning Guerrilla Radio. We performed that live a few times. We do Killing in the Name of, which obviously has a sort of infamous ending, which goes over really well. And we also do Bulls on Parade.
Yeah, so, absolutely. And then what's the lighter end? Because I know there's a pretty significant lighter end.
There is. So one of the very first songs we ever performed live was Tonic, If You Could See the Way.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of beautiful ballad with the 6-string guitar and, nice melody and all that. But
that's what I'm saying. You're 90s, but you're kind of like from pop radio 90s to, 101 JRR 90s, right? Like
White Zombie.
Exactly. You've got a pretty good mix in there.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is, as a newer band, you still seem to have a pretty loyal following.
Yeah.
What do you think the trick is to that? Because, I mean, the hardest thing bands face is getting booked and then getting people to care that they're booked, right?
Yeah.
And you definitely have. I mean, I've seen you 3 times.
Okay.
Every time it's been mobbed. Every time you've had a great crowd in there that was into what you were doing. It's like, Raging Sun, who I've had on here.
Sure, yeah.
Same thing. Like, they just came out of the gate kicking, and so did you guys. What do you think the reason for that is?
It's probably a combination of factors. I think, there was, obviously the precursor to Kobalt 27 was the original Judy Behave, right? So there was the 3 guys that had, that band for a while. They brought me on board. I had been playing with another group, mostly in like Alden Park. We were kind of a house band for a bar there, and we do some charity gigs here and there every once in a while. And then I think once the pandemic hit and live music went away for a while, I think some of it might have just been like the luck of the draw and timing, because our first gig was like in December of 2020.
Right.
And it was like, okay, we've been cooped up for a while, and then it's kind of started building some momentum. And over near the end of last year and into next, we sort of got our legs underneath each other. We got our sound figured out, and we do provide a pretty wide array of songs. And we keep trying to learn new ones if we can. And so I think when people come out and see us, they're not always going to hear the same stuff. There are certain standards that we like to do.
Well, we all do.
But yeah, I think our last gig, Bike Week at OB's, we didn't play Smells Like Teen Spirit at the end of the night for the first time ever.
Okay.
So,
That's your normal ender?
It has been, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's where I can just scream into the microphone at the end.
And who cares?
Yeah, and then I'm like, okay, I'm done.
I'll tell you what, though. I think the other half of that equation, and a couple of the bands on here fit the bill, you guys are people.
Yeah.
Like, everyone in the band is friendly. Everyone
Yeah.
is approachable. Everyone is interested in hearing what the people coming to see you have to say.
Absolutely.
And I think that comes off on stage. You know, I really do. I mean, there's some bands you go and watch, and we have a ton of great bands, so I'm not knocking, like, don't send me a bunch of hate mail, right? But there are bands you watch that you're like, I am not going to talk to them on the break. To them, you know, they're right. Like, you can tell that they'd rather just do their job, and the break is the break.
Right.
And then there's other bands that you see, and you're like, I feel like I could go up and talk to those guys, and I'm going to tell them I liked this song or I liked that song. You guys are very approachable, and I think that becomes, especially when you're new, like, if people feel like they can talk to you, then they feel like they're part of the success.
Yeah, and every gig we always, I mean, we'll do like a round of shots during break, and we're just like, come on in if you want to join us, you know? People like, hey, can we buy you shots? Like, okay, sure, yeah.
Now you weren't Judy Behave.
No, I was not.
Right, but Matt was.
Matt, John, and Chris, our drummer. Yeah, so yeah, they were all.
And then
Steve, who's now in Skin Deep, was also in that band.
Right, and I got to meet him when Skin Deep played Post Time, and he's just an awesome human also.
Oh yeah, no, great guy, fantastic guitar player.
The guitar playing, like, he was a really good fit with them.
Yeah.
Like, he just, you could just tell, it felt like they had been together from day one, and he was very, very cool, but I won't digress into that, man. We'll interview them later, right? Because I keep trying to get, Lee Seiler's been here twice.
Okay.
Giff has hit, who was like one of my favorite musicians on the planet, has hit me up twice, and it's always been like, oh, we'll book that time.
Yeah.
You know,
They're busy.
but we're going to make it happen.
Maybe
So
someday we'll be that busy.
Oh, you will. So you're playing Post Time.
Yep.
Right. Where else are you playing OBs?
Yeah.
Where else are we playing?
Dexter's Lake Mary.
That's right.
We booked the show at the Tin Roof a little later this year to
Nice.
check out the green room. So, but yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I think the places that have seen us and know about us really like our show. We know they know we bring a big crowd. It's going to be fun. You know, doesn't get crazy, even with the Rage Against the Machine songs. I promise.
Right.
There's no mosh pits or anything. But yeah, we're also trying to proactively, put our name out there because we are, just a little
You're the
over
new
a year
kids.
earlier. We're new, and we know that there's other territories in kind of the greater Orlando map that don't know about us.
So will you go to Daytona?
Hey, we played at Bike Week.
Bike Week. That's
Yeah,
right. I
Full
forgot
Moon
about
Saloon.
that.
That was an awesome. And we got so lucky because we got on stage, hot as heck. Starts raining at the end of our first set. We had to bring all the tarps out. We have a 30-minute break. Sun comes out. Tarps come off. We get to play our
You're
full
good to go.
90-minute set. And then, unfortunately, for Strut, who's a great band,
Oh, yeah.
they were supposed to go on after us. It was raining so horribly, like they got canceled, unfortunately. And it was kind of a bummer. I mean, we kind of lucked out in a way. Like if we were in that second slot, we would.
You wouldn't have played.
No.
And Strut's been around a while.
Yeah.
They're amazing.
Awesome. Yeah.
Everybody
great.
knows them, but you are still the new band.
Yeah, it was funny. Like we're on the main street there in Daytona, and you could see people were like walking by, like, who are those guys?
Right, because they've never seen you
Yeah,
before.
and like they're playing Linkin Park. Like, wait a minute, what?
And how about, have you played like The Alley? Have you played The
No.
Wing Shack? Have you played none of those places yet?
We've reached out, I think, to a couple of places in Sanford, but I think it's one of those things where they're like, who are these guys?
Well, I can vouch for these guys, right? Go check them out, give them a shot. I can vouch for these guys. At this point, half the town can vouch for you guys.
I think so.
I mean, you've got, like we said, it's a good following that comes to see you play, and you've got a little bit of a different niche, which is cool too, because it's funny. Everybody comes on and talks about the Florida 40, and while I understand that, I feel like the Florida 40 is different for one band than another. Sure. I'm in a dance band.
Yeah.
I promise you, my Florida 40 has 20 songs that you didn't even contemplate because you're playing rock and roll.
Right.
The same way your Florida 40 has songs we've never even thought about because we're a dance band. So there really isn't, when you go genre to genre, there really isn't a 40 that crosses over. There's like 10.
Yeah.
So having your own niche is definitely going to make it easier for you to break out and do you guys do benefits at all? Have you done any of the big benefits?
Not yet. I mean, I remember talking with Karen Laser about that autism benefit, and I was like, my youngest has autism, and it's a very important, cause to me. And so I was like, hey, it was one of those things. It's timing. And they had all these other groups. I was like, if anybody cancels,
let us know.
That didn't pan out. I still went and supported all the bands that were there, and threw in some money in the raffle and all that kind of thing, which was great. But yeah, I imagine that will come with time.
So there's a benefit coming up. I want to say it's May 1st.
Okay.
It's for Ken Martin, who used to be over at Seminole Harley Davidson. You guys probably weren't on the scene long enough to know who Ken was, but he passed away at a heart attack. And they're doing a benefit on May 1st, and there's a new music venue that they're doing it at in Sanford. Dolly Sorrow is involved.
Okay.
You guys would be a great fit for that. If you're cool with it, after this, I'm going to message Dolly and say, hey, if there's an open slot, right?
Just give us 30 minutes.
Right, yeah, there you go, right?
Yeah.
Just give
All right.
Everybody should know about.
Wow. Well, one of the things I enjoy about this band, especially as a singer, is that I'm always. It's cool that I get a chance to sort of take risks and do stuff vocally that I may not have tried, because I've usually been like a bass player, lead singer guy, and when you're doing two things, I'm sure if you sing as a drummer, it's like
I try not to
walking and chewing gum, but if I can focus just purely on the singing, we're trying some stuff out, like Daughtry, Feels Like Tonight. It's a great kind of a rock melody, but it's a lot harder to sing than it sounds.
Oh, I'll bet it is. I'll bet it is. And of course, I would be remiss if I did not ask you the one question I ask everybody. There's got to be something funny that nobody's heard about that happened to Kobalt.
Well, I think
there has to be.
Well, I think you've heard the shoe story where I flung my thing into hits John's face in rehearsal.
He told us that in his interview with Matt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it kind of goes back to the early days of Kobalt with, when we're about to start doing gigs. So our guitar player, Matt, he keeps himself in good shape. He's the guy who wears, we kind of joke around, like he must be sponsored by Warnstar or something. And so he comes over to me and he's like, you should look into buying some of these clothes. I'm like, this shit's kind of expensive.
I'm not buying that.
and I also was thinking about, like, well, what would my wife say if I showed up like wearing these kind of pants with rips and those parts and all that? I was like,
maybe not.
Thankfully, he can pull it off, and it's great to have that guitarist who has got the look, and fortunately he can play as well. And trust me, there have been plenty of times where we've had people in the audience, particularly of the fairer sex, just looking up at him like, wow. So that happens from time to time. And there have been other sort of funny things that have happened with gigs. There's anytime you just bring random people to a single place and there's alcohol involved. Actually, though, one of my most recent things that was kind of funny was our last post-time gig. We adopted Mr. Bill. He became the official fifth member of Kobalt for the night. There were some incriminating photos of him on the floor with a whiskey shot that he drained. He might have taken a nosedive off of my mic stand at least once. Oh no! But we had some fun with that and some laughs and got some great pictures of it that we put on our Instagram and all that kind of stuff.
And your next gig is coming up in May.
That's right. Back at post time. Thank God they like us.
Hey, they should like you. You bring a good crowd, and Deanna's just great.
Yeah.
She really is.
Yeah, I think it's May 20th and 21st. It's another double shot weekend. So those are always fun for singers when you get to do like 80 songs or whatever it is.
Oh yeah. So and so I'm always honest on the show. I always don't talk about a band if I don't know them. I don't give anybody credit that isn't due. I've seen these guys plenty of times. If you're a club owner and you're looking to add a new band to the roster, especially if you want that 90s grunge, everything we talked about here, look these guys up. Kobalt 27, they're always a great time. Thank you very much for coming and doing this, man. We filmed this like 2 weeks ago, and we had John with us, and in a pure showing of my lack of education on some of this stuff, everything got done, I put on the video, no audio, nothing. And so I had to get James back here. And Scott Cater from Full Circle came here.
Okay.
We recorded 5 times. That's when I upgraded my system because I didn't get audio any of them. So I apologize for sure.
It's all good, man.
Definitely check these guys out. You'll be glad you did. And check out the weekly band crawl. We all appreciate you watching. You guys have a great weekend. We'll see you soon.